Okay. All right, it started. All right. Welcome everyone to the uh informational webinar on how to be an advisor for the Chief Science Officer program. My name is Shauna Witt, and I am the regional lead of the Chief Science Officer program. I will get into what that means in a moment as I go through the presentation. If some of you have worked with us before, so you're kind of aware of how this works. For some of you, this might be completely new information, so I will do my best to stay as comprehensive yet concise as possible. And if you have any questions, I will answer them in the end. Or if you are watching this webinar from the recording, you can just go ahead and send me an email with your questions as well. So for a brief program overview of what the Chief Science Officer program is, it is basically a worldwide initiative that is mainly based in the US. This map is a little bit old because Nevada has now been part of it for a year and a half now, with several expansion sites in various other countries. And the program reaches over 200,000 people. And with the student demographics, it's a strong indicator that we are really progressing towards gender and racial equity with the program. But what is a CSO? So a CSO stands for Chief Science Officer, and these are basically middle to high school students who act as STEM ambassadors, and they basically become STEM leaders within their community. They can be identified by their peers, or if they just demonstrate their own interest in STEM, innovation, and also advocacy. So we're basically looking to really help shape the students who show promise in, just really taking initiative with their project ideas and really building something out of them. So if you really think about it, it's like how often do students really have a voice? Because a lot of the times, even if youth are invited to quote unquote adult conversations, it's usually just as a representative of a program, or even just kind of showcasing, oh yeah, our program reaches out to youth. But with the CSO program, they are pretty much the leaders of the program. So it is up to them to make STEM connections in their communities, to advocate for more STEM in their schools, or even to just lay out the foundation of soft skills or even their jobs for their future. All of this are things that they completely take the lead on with guidance from us. So the mission of the CSO International Program is to engage a global network focused on creating and sustaining a culture of lifelong leadership development, STEM awareness, workforce and employability skills in 6th through 12th grade students who serve as users of technology and advocates for diverse learners and critical thinkers. The vision of the program is developing visionary, goal-driven, and action-oriented leaders who recognize how yourself and others can embrace your roles as change makers. Our goal is to really help them recognize how they can just embrace those roles and how not to get overwhelmed by those roles as well. Because if you think about, like, once the students really start thinking about their projects, it's very easy for them to get overwhelmed. And so that's really where the advisor role starts to come into play. So program goals are to create a global network of diverse STEM leaders, enrich STEM culture and career awareness with these students. I apologize. I am globally back from Thailand. I just attended a youth leadership workshop, actually, so my words might be getting a bit tangled this afternoon. To also foster communication and collaboration amongst the CSOs and to really just amplify student voice in STEM conversations within the community. So for the roles in the CSO program, we have the CSO International, which is the base program itself. They're actually located within Arizona State University, which is where they run the program. And from there, you have your regional leads. So in each state, in each region, there is a regional lead base that kind of oversees all of the CSO programming within that area. So here in Nevada, that is DRI, Desert Research Institute, which is what our organization is. And the specific regional lead is myself. And so I oversee all of the components of the program within the state of Nevada. From there, you have your cabinet coordinators. We have a Northern cabinet coordinator and a Southern Nevada cabinet coordinator. Again, I apologize. And so depending on which region of the state you are in, you will either mainly be working with Lauren, who oversees Northern Nevada, or with Ruby, who oversees Southern Nevada. Underneath the cabinet coordinator is the advisor, which are the teacher mentors, and the advisors oversee the CSO students themselves. So we have quite the chain of command in regards to how we best can support the students as they take the lead for their action plans. So basically, your role is to support the CSOs to help them advocate for STEM in their community and on campus if they choose to do a school-based project. And as they really grow into their leadership position, you are there to assist with any administrative needs. So such as assisting them if they need to reach out via email for expert help, to really just help facilitate introductions to STEM professionals. And just to ensure the CSOs are on track to reach their goals, because one big thing that we've learned in terms of feedback from the students themselves is they really like this project is kind of a slap in the face in regards to learning how about time management, is the big feedback. And then learning how for this project, it's all on them, really, are the two big feedbacks. And they never say that in a bad way. Um, so it's like they all really just come into that realization of like, oh, I really need to step up and stay on track for this project. So as an advisor, you have the power to select students to be CSOs. If you identify anyone within your school or within your community, it doesn't necessarily have to be within your school, although that is easier. And basically invite them into the CSO program. It is a completely free program, no cost associated on the students. In regards to joining, I want to caveat with that. Depending on what their project is, there might be some cost involved in regards to purchasing supplies. However, we do our best to seek out funding to help mitigate those costs. You need to check in with your CSOs twice a month, just to kind of check in and see where they're at with their project, help them figure out what their next steps are, and just making sure that they're still on track from their previous check-in. Like if they say like, oh yeah, I should do this, you're checking in to see if they have in fact done that. You want to support the CSOs with their action plans. Their action plans are something that they come up with on their own. Our job is just to help guide them through that. You want to ensure all CSOs complete all the required forms. What those required forms are what your cabinet coordinators will inform you of. And then just to ensure that the CSOs participate in any events and meetings that we hold throughout the year. We don't have very many events, but then we do have a once a month check-in with the CSOs. And usually it's with the CSO and their advisor together. So of your 2 meetings a month, one of them will also be with our team. And then also to assist with any administrative needs that they might have. So a couple of program definitions before I move on. So first we have the Leadership Training Institute, also known as the LTI for short. And this is a required annual foundational event that provides essential program skills, where they also develop their action plans and build camaraderie with fellow CSOs from other schools. This Leadership Training Institute takes place in early fall, so shortly after, usually late September, early October is when we host it. It is a half day training where the students learn leadership skills, and they also kind of learn how to take those, like for what their skills are. They kind of figure out, okay, this is with these skills, I would probably be good at doing XYZ of a project. And so based on that, we kind of help them figure out like, okay, if you are good at networking, then you might want to do a project that just really involves connecting with people and possibly like bringing people in to do what you want them to do for whatever your action plan is. Following that training, they then begin the CSO program where they meet with you and work on further building out those action plans. The action plan itself, it's one action plan per year, and it's basically a STEM-based project that either solves a problem, enriches STEM culture, or addresses a need that they see within their school or community. Like I said, during the LTI itself, that's when students will really brainstorm their ideas for their action plans and complete their initial action plan form. A lot of the time, students might have a very big idea or have no idea what they want to do as an action plan. So there is a chance during those first few meetings with their advisors that the plan changes. And that is perfectly okay. We have had students that even like halfway through the school year, they completely pivot to an entirely new idea because their initial plan, I think they kind of realize they're not fully equipped to handle just yet. And so they'll pivot to something else. And that is completely okay because it's all about them learning, them learning themselves and what works for them. Another program definition are cabinet meetings. So we have a fall cabinet meeting and a spring cabinet meeting where, again, they work with other CSOs to develop more leadership skills to, by the fall cabinet meeting, share what their finalized, quote unquote, finalized action plans are, and to basically participate in workforce and leadership activities. So, advisor check-ins. As an advisor, you are expected to guide, support, and mentor your CSO. I want to really stress that you are not doing the work of the action plan for your CSOs. You are just there to check in with them, gently guide them. But in the end, all of the work needs to be done by your CSO. So throughout the year, you're checking in with your CSO at least 2 times a month. If you feel like they need more check-ins for guidance, that is okay too, but at least twice a month. During your check-ins, it says here to prompt your CSOs to log into their Moodle account. We're not the biggest fan of Moodle here in Nevada, so at this point in time, if they need to check their Moodle accounts, your cabinet coordinators, so Lauren or Ruby, will let them know. Basically, make sure however, Lauren or Ruby will let you know if there are any required forms that CSOs need to fill out, and that will be something that we ask that you follow up with the CSOs about. We want you to ask about their progress on their action plans are, what their next steps might be. If they don't know what their next steps are, again, that's where your experience comes into play in guiding them to figure that out. You also want to update them on any upcoming events or trainings or cabinet meetings. These are usually shared during our meetings with your meetings with the cabinet coordinator, and then follow-up reminder emails will be sent to you as well. And then the way that our program works is after they do their project throughout the year, at the end of the year, we have several community events that we attend or host here at DRI. And we ask that the CSOs attend one of these events. so that they can share out with the community what they did to just raise awareness about their projects, possibly help garner more interest in the program or even in what they're doing. And then also just to practice public speaking as well. A lot of CSOs, like if they only attend one community event, they're very nervous during that one because just the idea of public speaking, having to approach a stranger. But then if they attend a second community event, suddenly it's like they're old pros and they have full confidence in what they're doing. Um, Advisors are allowed to attend the LTI and cabinet meetings if they would like. However, you are absolutely not required to attend. And I will share that um, at most you could probably take some of the trainings with the students, but this is entirely student oriented and targeted for these trainings and cabinet meetings. So just so you're aware, our learning management system is through Moodle as required by the CSO International program. Um, Advisors will have the option of signing up for an account to help them keep track of all their students if you have many students from many different classes. But as I said, on our end, it is required to at least sign up because CSO International requires it. However, we don't really enforce like having to log in all the time and using that as a communication device. So the trainings and meetings, in terms of just a quick checklist, we have the Leadership Training Institute that kind of launches the official beginning of the CSO program. Based on the students who attend that those students are the ones that become your CSOs. And from there, you kind of launch the program with your biweekly check-ins. We have our fall cabinet meeting, and by then we strongly encourage that the students have their finalized action plans. And then the spring cabinet meeting and the end of the year celebration, we actually combine into one, simply because we know that the end of spring is a very busy time in terms of finals. Here at DRI, it is very busy for us because we do a lot of outreach events at that time. And so that is why we combine them into one. So the spring cabinet meeting and the end of year celebration is a big wrap up event where the CSOs are able to share with each other what they did throughout the year. And then we just celebrate all that they have achieved together. In terms of required forms, you can see the checklist on the other side. There is the registration form to actually get them registered with CSO International. We have an LTI feedback form. That one we will chase the students on. The approved action plan form, the fall cabinet meeting form, spring cabinet / end of year feedback form. And if your CSO ends up doing 2 action plans or more, they can complete additional forms. However, for many first year CSOs, 1 action plan is plenty. Okay, so in terms of action plans, each CSO works to create a STEM-based action plan that really just focuses on making an impact in their school or community. So it could be things such as hosting STEM demonstrations for younger classrooms. So for like for elementary classrooms, they could go and do that to really just introduce K through 5th grade students STEM activities. It could be something larger, such as starting a school community garden. Okay, I've got that whole other page. I just want to address here, we have a couple of our students from previous years. We have our student Arthur, our CSO Arthur from Foothill High School. He started the Arthur Talk, which is the equivalent to a TED Talk at his school. And he actually had 92 students that attended when he held it. And he invited 2 student speakers and 1 educator to speak about the dangers of sedentary lifestyles and also raising awareness on how you can't use that as a blanket term and how to keep those dangers in mind for people with disabilities as well. We also had another group of students down here in the corner who did energy conservation awareness. They wanted to bring awareness to some of the energy saving programs that are promoted through our local energy companies. And they did that by attending community events and just really letting people know what was out there in terms of savings that they could do or programs that they could sign up for. Other types of action plan ideas are STEM clubs, community improvement projects, just communication about STEM, either through school announcements, a podcast, social media, hosting actual field trips, doing some type of makerspace activity, hosting some type of STEM competition, or even having a STEM theme day or a STEM spirit week at the school. So some of these are very easy to implement, and then some of them take a bit more work in terms of getting them implemented within schools. In terms of action plan support, through the CSO program, they sometimes get mini grants. As mini grants are available, we will let you know through our monthly meetings or through email. And for these mini grants, it basically requires the student to write up a short few paragraphs about their action plan and what they need, and they can receive funding for those items. So last year, a couple of our CSOs, they actually applied for the grant. They were trying to address nutrition within their school, and so they applied for the grant to get desktop hydroponic systems to have for their classrooms. So this way they could provide nutritious meals or nutritious options for students that didn't have them, and they were awarded the grant. It's a very easy application, and I think it's one of those things where not very many students do apply. Another mini grant, well, not so mini grant, is here in Nevada through OSIT, the governor's Office of Science, Innovative Technology. They have STEM-based grants that teachers can apply for to help run STEM programs within their school. Unfortunately, it doesn't cover salary. However, it does cover any other aspects that are needed to help run the program. So if you have a student that has a very big idea, such as like, I want to do field trips, that's incorporating like bus costs, admission costs, and other things like that. That is something that you, as an advisor, could look into for the grant and possibly even have the student assist you in some way of writing the grant to apply for it. They do open up in several small funding cycles. I do know they had one for late spring. I do anticipate it'll open up again in fall. So on our end, on DRI, we will be keeping our eye out for that. And as those grants open up again, we will let you know to keep them open as a potential option. And that is it for this presentation. If there are any questions, stop the recording now. And if there are any questions, I will take them here. And then if you are watching the recording, feel free to send me your questions via email.